So the actual number of the army of Quraysh was 950, while the Muslim army was 300. So the Muslims were 1/3 the size of the Quraysh, and Muhajirin was 86, right? So the bulk or the majority of the army in Makkah, in Badr, was of the Ansar. Okay, and of the Ansar, there were 61 soldiers from the Aus, and there were 170 soldiers from the Khazraj. And we remember that there were fewer people from the Aus, because when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam announced that we have to go and intercept the caravan, most of the people of Aus were far away from the town center, right? They were close to the mountain. They were busy in their cattle. They were grazing. So this is a very, very important point to note, that the bulk of the army were people who had only been with the Prophet for just 2 or 3 years. The Ansar had been with the Prophet ﷺ, the Muhajirin had been with Prophet ﷺ for all of the Makkah period, which was 13 years. We've already gone through all of that, and a couple of years. But the bulk of the army were of people from Ansar. Okay, so आजकल एक और misconception होता है, a lot of times when we don't know our history, people say that the Sahaba were only allowed to fight after they had passed the test of Iman, and that test of Iman was 13 years of Dawah in Makkah. Right? The 13 years Dawat hoti in Makkah, and after that they were ready for fighting. But the answer to this is that when the fighting actually started in Badr, most of the army was not even the Muhajirin. The most of the army was Ansar. And Ansar had only been with Prophet Muhammad ﷺ for a couple of years. Okay? So the Muhajirin were 86, Aus was 61, Al-Khazraj were 170. So the backbone of the army was Al-Khazraj. And the reason why Aus were much fewer than Al-Khazraj was because the dwelling of Aus was in the upper part of Medina. And when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mobilized this army, he said that the ones who have their rides ready can join the army. So due to the fact that Al-Aus lived a bit far away, they weren't able to join the army. Is this point clear to everyone? Why Al-Aus was not able to join in greater numbers? How many men of fighting age were there in Medina? Hands. Yes, Mustafa? 16 what? 16. No. So how many men of fighting age were there in Medina? Go ahead, Shaya.
1500.
1500. So of the 1500, only 300 were available at that point in time. Okay. And of the 1500, there were many people from Al-Aus as well. Okay. All right. So let's keep moving. Now, this is a very, very, very interesting story. Okay. And something you might not have heard before. In Sahih al-Bukhari, now remember, one of the most authentic books of hadith is Sahih al-Bukhari. Okay? So the Quran is the word of Allah. Hadith are the sayings of Rasulullah. And the most authentic, clean, and robust book of hadith is Sahih al-Bukhari. Okay? In al-Bukhari, al-Bara bin Azib radhiyallahu anhu said, we were companions of Rasulullah. When we would talk about the Battle of Badr, we would say that the number of people who participated in the Battle of Badr is equal to the number of people who participated with Talut after they passed the trial of the water of the river, and the only ones who passed were the believers. We were a little over 310. Now, does anybody know who Talut is? In Quran, traditionally identified with the Israelite king Saul, as he is stated to be the king of Israel. Now, in the Bible, Talut is known as Saul. Saul. Okay. Who was he? He was leading the Israelis into battle. When they came across a stream, he ordered his army not to drink water from the stream. None of the army obeyed except about 310 soldiers. Now the story goes, Hazrat Musa alayhi salam has died. If you remember, when Rasulullah was talking to the Ansar, Al-Miqdad said that we are not the people of Israel. We are not like the people of Musa. Who said what to Musa? So the people of Musa said that you fight and you and your Lord will fight. So they refused to fight. Okay. And Allah then said to that generation that you will not fight. Then Musa alayhi salam passed away. And then there was a prophet called Prophet Samuel. Okay. he told the people that you should fight. So the people of Israel, the Bani Israel said, please appoint a king on us. So the Prophet Samuel, he said, the king for you is going to be Talut. So the children of Israel, Bani Israel said, hey, Talut is not a rich man. He's not from a good family. How come he's the king? He said, that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said. So Talut was appointed as king over the Israelis. Okay. And then when he was appointed as the king, he said, now we have to fight and take Palestine. Okay. And when they were marching towards Palestine, there was a river. And this whole army was very, very thirsty. But he wanted to test the army. So he told the army, nobody is going to have water when we're passing this stream. The most amount of water that you can have is in your palms. Anybody who drinks more than this is not going to be part of my army. So when they came across the stream, most of the army started having water. Everybody almost started having water except 310 soldiers. They were loyal and obedient to Talut. And that army, you all know Jalut or Goliath in English? Who knows
Yes,
Jalut?
sir. Me.
Just raise your hands. I don't want you guys to speak without raising your hands. Stay on mute and raise your hands. All right. So who knows Jalut? So Muhammad knows, Musa knows. Hafsa, tell us. Hafsa, go ahead.
He was the leader of the army that was going against Dawood.
So Jalut or Goliath, like Hafsa said, he was on the other side of the army. Okay, he was the enemy and the adversary of Dawood alayhi salam. And he was supposed to be a very giant person. So this army, Talut, was fighting against the Palestinian, the army which had Jalut in it. And in the army of Talut was Dawood alayhi salam, the prophet. And then Dawood killed uh, Jalut. They were killed
With
with Goliath, and then they won, and then they entered the Holy Land. So this all happened under the kingship of Talut. So this is the whole story about Talut. So Hazrat Bara bin Azib Razilullah anhu saying that we are like those 310, those 313 who were the chosen people to fight Jalut. ये comparison समझ आ गया सबको? Why did Bara bin Azib say that we are like the people of Talut? Because the army of Talut was similar size, 300 something. And they were the best of the best. They had passed the exams. Absolutely. Okay, good. So we move on. The fact that there was a connection between the Muslims at the Battle of Badr and the Bani Israel who participated with Talut, and the fact that Al-Bara here mentions that these are the ones who passed the test and joined Talut tells us you that the believers who were in the Battle of Badr were also the best. These were the ones who passed the trials of this world. Now, कहने का मकसद ये है, the people who participated in Badr, the Battle of Badr, were the best of the best Muslims. There are no better Muslims ever than the ones who participated in the Battle of Badr. That is the status that they had. Later on, Bina, एक sahabi the, we will come across his story when we do Fatah Makkah, inshallah, who had made a mistake, big mistake. But Rasulullah forgave that sahabi just because he was a sahabi who fought in the Battle of Badr. All right, Ibrahim, don't make sound, please. Okay, let's keep moving. What's the time? Okay. We have a bit of price distribution also. Okay, now this is very, very interesting. Put the glass down on the table, please. Okay. Now, this is very interesting. During a battle, when the army is marching, the army has a few things. So you can see the army has the top leaders, the soldiers, and Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is obviously leading the army. But the army has a few things. The army has banners, the army has flags, the army has slogans, the army has battle cries. Now let me ask you guys questions. What is a banner? And raise your hands. Mariam, go ahead.
So banner is a type of flag, but it's different from flag. It has two poles on each side, and in the middle there is either a sheet of paper or a piece of cloth with some symbol or something.
Okay, very good. So a banner can be stuck on both sides either by two sticks or ऊपर नीचे हो सकता है. I'll show you a picture later. Flags, everybody knows flags. What is the slogan? Let me
Kind
give
of that.
somebody else a chance, Mariam.
Okay.
Anybody know what a slogan is? Okay, go Afnan.
सर वो आर्मी को इनकरेज करने के लिए कुछ ऐसी लाइंस या कुछ ऐसी चीजें जो इनकरेज करें.
Okay, so Afnan says things that you should say to encourage the army. Okay, I saw other hands as well. Hamza Khan, I saw your hand.
Yes, slogan can also be like a phrase that you use to like motivate somebody.
Okay, and what's a battle cry? Go ahead, Musa.
In my perspective, it's somewhat like a cheer to cheer up the Muslims, or
Okay,
for
Sumayya
example,
family.
type of rhyme.
Thanks, Musa.
Oh yeah, it's when it's when you start shouting and you're feeling pumped up, motivation that you're gonna start fighting, you get pumped up.
Give me an example from sports or real life.
Like you start shouting or like you start like just shouting and just staying happy and start to fight.
Okay, Muhammad, go ahead.
I was gonna say basically the same thing as Musa, but can I give the example of what they used to say during the battles?
Very good. So I'll give you an example, right? So when Pakistan was being when the independence movement was starting, so a lot of times the slogan used to be Pakistan ka matlab kya? Put your hand on when you're yawning. Okay. Pakistan ka matlab kya? So people used to say Pakistan ka matlab kya? La ilaha illallah. What does Pakistan mean? It means La ilaha illallah. That used to be a slogan. Okay. And then everybody during speeches, even now, right, when religious people do speeches, everybody says Takbir, and everybody says Allahu Akbar. Takbir, Allahu Akbar. That's like a battle cry, right? Okay, so the Muslims in the army had banners, flags, slogans, and battle cries. Okay, very important to note. The banner of the army during the Battle of Badr was white and it was handed to Musab ibn Umair radhiyallahu anhu. Now you can see what a banner looks like. This is just an example. It's a pole, a cloth on it, and it's tied at the bottom as well. Okay, so the banner was white of Rasulullah, and who was holding it? Musab ibn Umair. Can anybody tell me two significant things about Musab ibn Umair? Who was Musab ibn Umair? Hands. I need hands. Okay, Muhammad, go ahead.
He was a very young Sahaba, and he what do you call it? When he became Muslim, so before he became Muslim, he was like given everything. He was from a very rich family, but after he became Muslim, his mom like locked him up, and he was in the end, like when he was young, he had all the clothes, everything he wanted. When he passed away, they didn't have enough clothes to even cover his body.
Yeah, subhanallah. I mean, just hearing about Musab ibn Umair makes my hair raise. Now, Musab ibn Umair radhiyallahu anhu comes from the rich family of Makkah. You guys remember, I used to have a slide about Musab ibn Umair, very rich person. Every time there used to be trade caravans coming from Syria or Yemen, when they used to bring perfume, they used to stop at his house. His mother was extremely rich. He was one of the millionaires, like you would say, the analogy would be living in Dubai, having yachts, having Ferraris, having private jets, just like that. And that, given that, he says, I'm going to become a Muslim. And when he becomes Muslim, his mother says that none of my wealth will be used for you. So he became destitute. He became very, very poor. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to see that. And he had done this for the sake of Allah. I mean, I'll tell you something very interesting the other day, right? This is also part of Tarbiyah. Who knows about Piers Morgan? Anybody know about Piers Morgan? Okay. Okay. Hamza knows, Muhammad knows. A little older kids would know. So there was a guy on Piers Morgan the other day. मुझे नाम उसका भूल गया. This was an American poker player. Okay. Now poker is haram. He's a gambler. ठीक है? And this guy was a rich person. मतलब खुद कहता था I had 200, 300 million dollars, and he had all that he wanted: wealth, women, alcohol, money, and everything. And then 4 years, and he had almost 13 million, 13 or 30, 30 million. How many followers? I don't know what the guy's name was, मुझे भूल गया है. But he had like 30 million followers on Instagram. And then 4 years ago, he stopped posting on Instagram. You know, he was like a very macho person, और बहुत इसकी following थी, और बड़ा rich बंदा था. Go ahead, Umar. Tell me.
Was the guy's name Dan Blitzerian?
Yeah. Same guy with the beard, right?
Yeah.
Same guy. So then somebody asked, Piers Morgan asked him that, why did you just disappear? He said, I had everything: money, fame, women, yachts, private jets, but none of that made me happy. None of इसको English में कहते हैं hedonism. Hedonism means where you have everything, right? Everything that you can dream of, he had: alcohol, drugs, yachts, everything. And he said 4 years ago, I just did not find peace and happiness. And you know what he started doing recently? Since the war in Palestine started, he started posting stuff which was all pro-Palestine and anti-Israel. And everybody started canceling him. Everybody started. So Piers Morgan's like, why don't you stop? He said, look, all of this money, fame, fortune, everything did not give me peace. And he said, the things that give me peace don't even cost anything. They don't cost $1. And Piers Morgan says, how come? He says, the things that give me pleasure is standing up for something which is just, like standing up for the people of Palestine, hanging out with true friends, friends that I love, and my family. So guys, remember, all of this money, fame, fortune, people who have it, go ask them, does it actually give you pleasure? And the answer is no, because Allah says that Allah bi zikrallahi tatmainul qulub, that the peace that is in your heart comes from the remembrance of Allah. Nothing else will give you. So Musa ibn Umair radhiyallahu anhu knew this. And just imagine, he's the wealthiest of the wealthiest person. आज की अगर analogy में use करूँ, sports cars, perfumes, Dior, Rolex watches, Breitling, everything he would have in Makkah scenario. He gives that up, becomes poor. Rasulullah chose him to go to Medina to teach the Ansar. If you remember, from the start of Hijrah, the first person to go from Makkah to Medina was Musab ibn Umair. And now just imagine, this is the battle of the battles, mother of all battles, and he is holding what? The banner of Rasulullah. If you would ask Musab ibn Umair that you have the wealth of the whole world, mountains and mountains of gold, and if he were to give you that, just trade it with giving us the banner of Rasulullah, would you think he would do that? That is the izzah, the respect and the honor Allah gave him because of his qurbani. And going back to you guys, what I said last time, देखो जो आज की temptations है ना, whatever temptations are, haram on TV, music, not taking the hijab, not praying, everything. Yes, it's going to be tough. But if you stand up for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will give you izzah. Allah will give you respect. Allah will give you honor. And most importantly, Allah will fill your heart with peace. ठीक है? So Musab ibn Umair radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu is holding the banner of Rasulullah. Just give me 1 second, guys. How many are we? Four. ठीक है? Okay, the next one is the flag. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also had 2 black flags. Now, beautiful, right? 1 white banner and 2 black flags. One of them was called Al-Uqab. And this was a standard. It was carried by Ali bin Abi Talib radhiyallahu anhu. Now, Ali bin Abi Talib radhiyallahu anhu, lion of Allah, cousin of Rasulullah, his son-in-law, and, one of the closest people to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is holding one of the black flags on the day of Badr.
I have a question.
Raise your hands, please. Just let me finish, and then the other black flag was given to one of the Ansar. So there were two black flags. So sometimes we get confused. Was the flag of Rasulullah white? Was it the flag of Rasulullah black? It's very simple. The banner of Rasulullah was white. The flags of Rasulullah were black. Okay, go ahead, Maryam.
Why would you name a flag?
Huh?
Why would you name a flag?
That's the traditions of Muslims, right? They would name the flags. They would name their horses also. They would have battle cries also.
Yeah, but naming horses and having battle cries makes sense. But like, why would you name a flag?
I think it was an Arab tradition also, Maryam. Who holds the Okab today? It's going to be Ali Raziyallahu anhu, because I'm sure they would take the same standards and the same flags battle after battle. So it used to be the honor, and it became something like a very, very sacred sort of a thing, that this is the banner of Rasulullah. Later in later times, the Ottomans, they had some of the flags of Rasulullah. So when they used to have some really, really critical battles or really, really critical fights where they thought that they're not going to win, they would take out the banner of Rasulullah. They would take out the flag of Rasulullah. So I think it would be a tribal tradition or something, Maryam. I'm not exactly sure.
All right.
Okay, Muhammad, go ahead. You had your hand raised. Ibrahim, please don't make noise.
What they call the Raya and the Liwa?
Correct. Absolutely. In Arabic.
Okay. But you said it was a god.
No, Raya means flag. Liwa means banner. Those are
okay.
generic names.
Okay.
Liwa to Tawheed, Liwa this, Raya means flag. So those are Arabic words for flag. अच्छा जी, the entire army, Muslim army के बारे में थोड़ा सा पढ़ लेते हैं. The entire Muslim army had only two horses, just two horses for the entire army. One was with Zubair Razilullah anhu, and one was with another Sahabi called Al-Maqdad bin Amr Razilullah anhu. So just two horses in the entire army. Okay. The Muslims had 70 camels, and each camel was shared with three people. So they would take turns getting up and down, up and down. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam shared his camel with Hazrat Ali Razilullah anhu and Martad ibn Abi Martab. So he used to share it with two other Sahabis. The two offered to give their turns to Rasulullah. Rasulullah said to them that you are not stronger than I am, and I am in need of reward just as you are. How old was Rasulullah during the Battle of Badr? That's a question to you all.
Sir, he must
Raise
be
your hand if you know the answer. Go ahead, Hamza.
Sir, approximately 57.
Okay, any other answers? Shayan?
54.
59.
Okay, 50. So I heard 54, 57, 59. So he was 50, he was 53 when Hijrah happened. Okay. Yeah. And then Badr happened 2 or 3 years after that. So he was mid 50s. So just imagine a man mid 50s traveling in the heat of the desert from Medina to Badr, sharing a camel with two other people. Those two people are saying that you are the Prophet of Allah, you are our leader, we give our turns to you. And then Rasulullah says, what? I am in need of reward as much as you are in need. Have you ever thought of a leader ever in history like this? Whether Caesar, whether Cyrus from Persia, whether Alexander from Macedonia, or the Mongols, or the Mughals, or today's leaders, have you ever seen such a humble leader? Who is the Prophet of Allah? Who is the beloved of Allah? Who is Rasulullah? Who is the Khatab al-Nabiyyin? He's the last prophet, right? He will be the person with the biggest ummah on the day of judgment. And he is walking on the earth like any other person. And that is why Rasulullah was loved by his people. They used to love him to death because of his example. Now, if he wanted to be a king, he could have said that, yeah, I'm going to be on the camel for throughout the journey. Simple thing, right? And आज भी आप देख लो बहुत सारे religious जो लोग होते हैं, Not all, some. You would see them sitting on a big sofa on some stage or something else. Rasulullah wasn't like that. Rasulullah was a humble man. In Battle of Khandak, you will also see that he is digging the trench and he has stones tied on his stomach. That is what makes Rasulullah, the most humble man. Okay? This was their leader and their teacher. Rasulullah would not even let them give up their turns for him. This was the example that he was setting for them. And this is the reason why the Sahaba loved Rasulullah so much. No followers have ever or will ever love their leader as much as they loved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? In the British times, the officers don't even sit with their soldiers and eat. And that's the same traditions that we have inherited. Right? But everywhere you see people being humble and honest. There's some tribal Arab societies or Afghan societies, even you go today, the leaders of the leaders sit with the people in need. The more humble you are, the more people will love you. Okay? So that is the example of Rasulullah that we should all try to follow. There is nothing, जो है ना मैं अमीर हूँ, मेरी गाड़ी बड़ी है, मेरा बाप ये है, मेरे पास ये title है. There's an ayat in the Quran which says that on the day of judgment, your wealth is not going to help you. Your titles are not going to help you. The only thing that will help you is your character and your good deeds. Okay? So this is the last one that we'll do, and then we'll inshallah go around and we'll take notes on what we face every day, right? When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, now this is a very, very interesting thing, right? This is about Rasulullah being a practical man also. So when Rasulullah chose the location of the army, one of the Ansar said, Ya Rasulullah, is this the place about which Allah has told you, or should we advance behind it, or is it part of your planning? सवाल का मकसद ये है कि रसूलुल्लाह जब बदर पे जा रहे थे, when he went to Badr, he stopped at a particular location. Now the Ansari was like, I'm not sure whether Allah has commanded Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to stop at this location, or is this a tactic that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is using himself. So he asked the question in a very intelligent manner. Look at how Al-Habab stated the question. If this was a wahi from Allah, then Habab was satisfied, but it was a question of tactics, then Al-Habab had something to say. Now if this was a wahi, a hukum from Allah to stop at this place, then there's no question, you can't do anything about it. There's some hikmah in it. But if this is a planning or a tactical thing, then Habab had something to say. Okay? What did he have to say? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that it was a matter of tactics. There were no wahi. Yahi hi rukna hai, isi jagah pe hi rukna hai. Okay? And it was just planning and tactics that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was employing. So Al-Munzir suggested that the army should go ahead till they get to the wells of Badr and stop there. Now, Badr agar aap jao na aaj bhi, so Badr has a place where you have wells of water. So the army initially stopped just behind those wells. And by the way, this satellite image that you see behind in the background is actually Badr. Okay, today. Okay, thoda piche ho jao, Ibrahim, so other people can also see. So when they went to, and this is actually a picture from the wells of Badr. Okay? So what Al-Munzir was saying ke ye jo wells hain, you camp in front of him so that the wells are behind you. And why would he want to do that? And he said that we should go there and construct a cistern so that they would have enough water and they could fight their enemy who would have nothing to drink. Now, cistern is basically a choti si hodi bana le, wahan pani khada ho jata hai, and when you have water supply, you can fight. Like I told you guys, in desert, the most critical asset that you can have is access to water. Okay? If you don't have access to water for your army, then it is tough for you. So Al-Habab's mashwara or his opinion was, let us not stop behind the wells. Let us go past the wells and keep the wells behind us. Clear ho gaya ye wala point? Okay. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, agreed, and this was an excellent plan, and they acted accordingly. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a humble person. Now he didn't say, I am the leader, now you have to stand here. He listens to his people. That's this, sign of a good leader, that he listens to his team.